geneticist, the same as I am every night. So, being a balding white dude with a beard, I feel like I fit the part of being a geneticist really well. I certainly fit the part of being a grumpy old scientist much better than something like the leading part in a rom-com. I'm far too nerdy to be these stylish two people. Fun nerdy fact, I only know who these two people are because they appeared in the Dungeons and Dragons movies. Honestly, I think they'll look a lot better in this outfit. So, somebody in the audience might be really upset right now because I implied that Darwin was a geneticist, but he actually was a naturalist. And if you are that pedantic person, then we should go and get a beer after the show because you're my sort of pedant. But in reality, we're more likely to spend the whole time arguing over who is the best Star Trek captain. I can tell you what my favourite is, but I'll give you a clue, it's not the war criminal. Now, much like Charles Darwin and at least one of these actors, I am originally British. Boos are encouraged. Now, I first moved here because the alternative was to move to Scotland for a job, so you could call me a climate refugee. And since I moved here, I started working for the ARC Centre of Excellence in Plants, which makes a lot of sense until you hear the last two words of the title, which is for space. The ARC Centre of Excellence in Plants for Space. Actually, maybe it does make sense after I revealed how much of a Star Trek I am. And you can add this to the list of rare jobs that you've heard about. So, a plant scientist doing space work, a scientist trying to do comedy, but also, a snowplow operator in Perth. So, the team I work with, what we try to do is add new genes into plants and see what fun things they do. And honestly, I wish it was as easy as this makes it look. Just injecting a tomato, that would be really cool, but no. So that's not what I spend all day doing. And when I'm sat at the computer screen, I'm there looking at my DNA, and you might think it would look something cool like this, the famous double helix. This will move as a TV would have you believe it looks like, but in reality, it looks a lot more like this. So when I want to feel cool, and I'm like in the Matrix, I make it look like this. That wasn't a joke, I literally do this. But if you're all very concerned about a geneticist trying to make the world a better place, that's because that's the start to nearly every horror story, science fiction horror story I've ever heard. Like this one. Or this one. Or this classic. And my favourite. And then there's this musical, which is actually about a plant from outer space. So on me. And so, you better all listen to me, or else. But what we really want to do is make the plants do weird and wonderful things that can help people here on Earth, but also during space exploration. So instead of a horror film, we want something that like a plant that makes medicine. So the only horror story here is my bad Photoshop. And so if we can engineer plants through changing their DNA, we can make them grow in really inhospitable places like Mars. Oh, sorry, that's Australia. Okay, sorry, still Australia? No, I like this part of Australia, but no. Okay, Mars. This is Mars. You can tell this is Mars because it is a planet entirely populated by robots. And so, if we want anything other than robots to live and thrive there, then we're going to need resources like medicines and building materials. And at the moment, we don't know of any crude oil there to be able to make plastics. If there was crude oil there, I'm pretty sure the US would already have a drilling operation. But I'm quite a bit different from a lot of my colleagues in Plants for Space because my favourite plant is a moss. And this is a picture of this humble plant from the lab. And this is photos of cute moss I saw while walking down the street. That wasn't a joke, this is literally what my camera photos are. You know, I love moss so much that I even went to a conference in Germany and drank a cocktail with moss in it. The Mossito and the Cos Moss Water. The best jokes in my whole show, and I didn't even write them. And I just think that moss is amazing because it can grow in really inhospitable places, and it gives me hope maybe we can get it to grow somewhere really hard, like Mars. Oh, sorry, Australia. There, Mars. Again, you can tell because of the robot. And another reason why I really like moss is because it's really easy to get DNA into. Not as easy as injecting into tomato, but a lot easier than some of the things we work with. And that makes our lives a lot easier. And it's really easy to grow. So I think this is a perfect thing to be able to make all the medicines and different products we need if we want to colonize other worlds. My partner says I get way too excited dreaming of building a moss that will turn on a medicine on demand once it increases in temperature. Enough of it. The one problem is that if we want to make the plant make something useful for us humans, well, the plant doesn't want to do that. It would be like us having to spend all of our money and our weekly food shop at Colesworth. We don't want to do that, and the plants don't want to make stuff for us humans. So, you know, they work really hard for all the sugars they make. And by hard, I mean they sit there sunbathing all day. So, if we want to make them make something for us humans, we might end up looking at this sick little plant. And no farmer on Earth or Mars wants to grow a plant that looks like this. So, how do we solve this problem? Well, I say we solve it with DNA switches. And so, this is an electrical switch, and it's quite easy to build one of these. I built this at home. Building a DNA switch, that's really hard. I had hair when I started. But after many, many years and late nights in the lab, I finally achieved it, and I built switches into DNA. And this is what it looks like. And if that looks like a tube with water in it, you're not wrong. There are millions of pieces of small DNA with switches in there, dissolved in there just like sugar in your tea. But it's not very exciting to look at. So then I get it into isolated plant cells, and it gets a little bit more exciting. And by a little bit more exciting, I mean it's just like green colour. This is what passes for excitement in our lab. But now we've got them working in these isolated cells, the hope is we can really radically change how the plant behaves and deal with harsh environments. So maybe we can make plants that have deeper roots that can hunt for water in the soil. Or maybe we can make a plant that has super healing powers like Wolverine to fight off disease. And then, if we're able to do these wonderful things with these plants, maybe we can go out and explore space. Like Mars. No, sorry, that was Australia. Mars. And so if we want to be able to achieve this, it's taken a lot of work, but we're getting there. And what I would like to say is that I'm really fortunate to be able to work in this current job because I get to live out my dream, or at least pretend to, of being one of the Star Trek captains that I grew up idolizing. And so that's just a wonderful thing. Thank you. I've been able to